I'm watching I'm watching this program about some some Africans in going on a tour of Russia. They're from a certain tribe in Africa, and I figured it's a great opportunity to talk about my trip to Africa because I was just in Africa. I mean in Russia. I just I just came back from Russia. I had quite the adventure because I was supposed to go to Russia for basically 1 week, and I ended up staying there for almost 2.5, almost 3 weeks, um, because of a technicality discovered in my passport, and that technicality was a visa situation. I ended up overstaying my time in Russia, and it really wasn't any fault of mine. What happened was when I applied for my Russian visa in Beijing, in Shanghai, I'm in Beijing now, filming this in my hotel room. When I when I applied in Shanghai, I paid for double entry 1 month at a time, right? I paid, about 1,400 RMB, which is around $200, right? For that visa. And if you pay for something and you got accepted, well, you figured that's what I got, right? So I didn't really even check the visa when I get it. Okay, the page was there. They gave it back to me. Sure, I had my visa, and off I went. But lo and behold, I left like 3 days after I got the visa because I had to book a ticket and find a flight and all of that. So when I got there, the first time when I'm trying to leave, I'm at the border because I crossed the border. I didn't fly. I flew to the north of China and then I crossed the border by bus. And then because I had a 2-hour drive to the city I was going. But when when I'm getting ready to leave to come back into China, when I'm getting ready to cross the border to come back into China, the authorities told me that my visa had expired. And I was like, huh? What? My visa expired? They were like, yes, your visa expired. And then I was held there for about, it took me about 4 or 5 hours. I had to stay there to go through some processing, right? And then I had to go back to the city. The city that I went to was 2 hours, so I had to go back to that city. And by this time, it's about 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I couldn't get a car or anything. So they told me I couldn't cross and go cross to go over until Monday, and this was Saturday. So I had to take a bus 2 hours, 2.5 hours back to the city, right, from the border. And this was like at 9 a.m. It was like 10 a.m. at night. And I'm here. I am this black guy at the bus depot. I had an escort. Somebody escorted me there and showed me what to do because I couldn't get a car. I couldn't get a car. It's not like I could rent a car, or I don't know where the hell I'm going. And so I ended up going back on a bus. So I took a bus back. So I'm on this bus with these Russian people, and they're all looking at me like, "What is this big guy doing here?" I'm so out of place, right? So out of place. I'm not just an average man, a colored black man. I'm a big black man, right? And it was all good though. I mean, people were cool. So I rode this bus back all the way, and then I had to go back on Monday. So when I went back on Monday, they took me through some processing, and I had to go to the courts. Yes, I had a trial. So when I went to get processed at the border, which took another 3 hours, and when I went to get processed at the border, they told me, okay, now you have a trial. And I was like, a trial? They're like, yeah, you have a trial. You have to go in front of the judge and she has to make a decision of what we need to do to you. Now, this is the processing, right? This is the process that it has to go through. Normally, I've unfortunately overstayed my visa in China once before. And it's a slap on the wrist, boom, right there. And they say, 10,000 RMB. It's not even it's two pieces of paper, boom, 10,000 RMB, which is like 1,600 bucks. The Chinese don't play. You better pay them. Pay them and you can go. Pay them and you can go. So, yeah, you pay that money and you can leave China. So, that's happened to me before. But here, you can't, it's not even about the dough, it's the processing. So I have to go in front of the court, the Russian court and immigration court, and the judge, and I'm there and I'm like, man, I've never been on trial before. I've never been on trial before. In all my life, I've never sat in front of a judge before, and here I am in Russia, sitting in front of a judge who's going to determine my fate because I violated, unbeknownst to me, I violated my stay in Russia. Because see what happened was in Shanghai, the woman gave me a 7-day visa. She gave me two 7-day visas when the paperwork that was sent from Russia explained, because you have to get up. The people who was inviting me to Russia, they explained the situation and they asked for a month, 2-month entry, and that's what I'm paying for. Right? That's what was asked for, and that what was decided on. But they gave me. So when I thought that I have a month in Russia, it was only 7 days that they gave me, and I did not know. I didn't know. I had no idea because I really didn't check it, and it was all in Russian, and I can't read Russian. So, and I thought I had a month. They gave me 7 days. Why would you give somebody 7 days? And I didn't even leave until like 3 or 4 days into the visa. So by the time I left to go to Russia because I had to find a ticket, it was already 4 days had already gone off that visa. And then when I got to the border, I had to spend a day in China because I couldn't cross it. I got there past after 3, and you can't cross into Russia at 3. So I had to spend another day in China and then go over the next morning. So 5 days had already been gone off the visa. So I ended up overstaying 5 days in Russia. Anyway, unbeknownst to me. So here I am now in front of the judge, and I explained all that to her. I'm like, look, ma'am, I paid for, and I still had all the paperwork, and I showed her. In China, I paid for 2 months. The invitation letter was about asking for a month. The invitation letter, I showed her what I paid for, and I'm like, lady, unbeknownst to me, I didn't check the visa because your visa is in Russian. That's what this was my case. Your visa is in Russian, and I thought I paid for 2 months because that's what I paid for. I paid 1,400 RMB, which is about $200, right? So I paid for 2 months, and I was given 7 days. So I paid for 2 months. So I didn't really think I had to check. I didn't really think I had to check the visa. And if I did check it, I probably wouldn't even, because it's all in Russian. I looked at it. Okay, nice looking visa. I got it. Great, let's go. You know. So I explained all that to her, and she she was like, okay, I understand your case. I will make a decision. So she was like, cool. It's fine. Awesome lady. All the people were all nice at the immigration. Of course, I'm a big black man. Here I am. You don't see people like me normal, on a regular basis here. So I definitely attracted a lot of attention, and a lot of pictures were trying. And the court, the officers, the law was like, no, you can't take pictures in here. I mean, people were trying to take pictures of me. So anyway, he put that to an end. But anyway, so after she processed the visa, I mean, after she told me, cool, we won't, we will allow you to come back to Russia if you ever need to come back to Russia. Um, you have to pay a fine, right? And the fine was so small. in comparison. The fine was so small in comparison to the amount of paperwork that I had to, I had to go through. So okay, cool. So I go back to the border now. So we're rushing, going back to the border, rushing. Now this is the border police who helped me process all this, right? They escorted me to the courts. We paid the fee. I had to go to the bank, pay the fee. And then we rush back to the from the courts. We go to the bank, pay the fee, and then we're rushing back to the border now to go across. Now the police is escorting me across now, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm finally leaving. Finally leaving Russia. The police is escorting me across. I get to the border now, and wow, this story is taking 10 minutes. Long story, huh? I get to the border now, and the lady, when the police takes me to the customs, right? They escorted me all the way up because I have to get a police escort. I just came from the courts, right? They escorted me all the way up, and took me to the border control to pass. Gave them my passport, right? The police handed them my passport and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going over now. Man, don't you know there was like 4 or 5 other immigration officers came around and there was this big conversation going on about my passport, and I'm wondering, wait, what's going on? I just left the courts. The judge made a decision. It's time for me to go. Get him out the country. Let the man go. They told me I could not go because I needed a transit visa. Because my visa had expired, I needed a transit visa. Now the police, nobody informed me that. I mean, if this wasn't even communicated with me after the courts, because the courts thought the next step was, okay, he's free to go, take him back to the border and let him go. Don't you know I needed a transit visa? And that transit visa, so the police was like, he's like, you can't leave, um, you can't leave. We have to still do some processing. And I'm like, huh? But the judge said I'm ready to go. So I'm standing there just in awe of what's going on, and dude said you can't go. So I was like, okay, cool. You're the authority. I got to listen to what you say, man. Ah, so I go, I go back. We go now. I get taken to another department, right? We get taken to another. I get taken to another department, and they told me that the transit visa was going to take 2 weeks to process. 2 weeks. There was no way I could pay for it to be processed quicker or whatever. Nothing. So I ended up. I ended up. I'm in Beijing, my little workstation. I ended up. I ended up having to stay for, yeah, an extra 10 days. I ended up having to stay. The transit visa took 10 days extra to process. But so yeah, that was what happened, and this wasn't the people's fault. This was the system. Obviously, it's the system, right? The people were all very nice, and they hated to go through all of that themselves because it's a process for them too. It's a lot of paperwork and a lot of time, and it's just so that was my adventure. It was a great. I was in a small little city. It wasn't Moscow or anything. I was just in a small border city. Well, a city 2 hours from the border, the north, a city called Hehe, the Chinese city called Hehe. Anyway, so yes, I was able to leave, and then I went back to Hehe. You know, after all that, I was able to leave and went back to Hehe. So it was a visa technicality, no fault of mine. I paid my money for my visa, but I didn't get the visa I paid for. Like, subscribe, share as I go along my journey with crypto and basketball. Appreciate that, guys. So that was my adventure in Russia. Great, great place. I mean, there seems to be a lot of misconception about Russia, but we all know the media. The media pumps, and people are victimized by the media. People listen and people believe a lot of stuff in the media. And Russia, it was a beautiful place and beautiful people. I mean, I had a ball. It wasn't a big city. like a Beijing. It wasn't Moscow, but but then again, I always attract. I always attract a lot of attention. I am 6'9", 6 feet 9 inches tall, and black guy. I'm always a little out of places in places that I go because I'm a little different. I'm very different with my height, you know. But like, subscribe, share, comment, as I go on this journey, guys. But Russia was cool. It was cold, just a regular. It felt the city I was in felt like any Midwest American city. Really, it felt like any Midwest American city. Nothing major. I mean, nothing major. There seems to be a lot of misconception in the media about Russia. We shouldn't confuse the people with the government, right? We shouldn't confuse people with government. The people are different. People are just it looks like me and you. We all have our everyday. Everybody is doing our thing every day, But people, some people might be more asshole than others, But generally, people are pretty nice, man. And and Russia was a cool experience. I felt like I was in any Midwestern American city. Anyway, like, subscribe, share. You guys have a good day, whatever you're doing in your crypto journey. Hope you all getting in on these ICOs. I know I am. I'm back on the chase. I still can't get a chance to do some lending with. I can't lend to techs. I'm still trying to lend to techs. Numiv lending is coming up. Numiv lending coming up. A few other things are going on. I'm just in a little hotel room here, in it's a small Holiday Inn. It's in an area I used to live in Beijing. It's a small room, nice, cozy, nothing major, nice and cozy. Holiday Inn. It's the Holiday Inn Express. It sits in the middle. I used to live in Beijing for 3 years before I moved to Shanghai, and it sits in the middle of. It sits in Sanlitor. This hotel sits in Sanlitor. They call it Sanlitun. They call it Sanlitor. Very historical area of Beijing. Um, Very historical area. Max Kaiser. Gotta watch this. I watch this guy to keep up with the what's going on in the investment financial world. You know. And oh, they're talking. Yeah, I saw this. Yeah, they're talking about Bitcoin. Yeah. But yeah, this Sanlitun area is very very interesting area in Beijing. It houses a lot of foreigners. A lot of foreigners live around here. Mainly the working foreigners. There are two foreign hubs in Beijing. You have Udalco. Udalco is where a lot of students, international students, go to school. The schools are in the Udalco area, and that's in the west. And then here in San Litor, it's mainly the people who work for companies and teachers, and it's mainly the adults, mainly the corporate and the teachers live in this area mainly, and business types. And it's more expensive of an area than say Udalco, the student area. But a lot of students come over to this area to party because there's a lot of clubs. There's a lot of high-end clubs in this area, and students, they roam. A lot of clubs in this area. But anyway, like, subscribe, share. I'm in Beijing. I'm probably gonna go to the Great Wall, and tomorrow or so, and I gotta take care of a couple, do some more business here, and then I'm heading heading out, heading out. So
version of Bitcoin. Ironically enough, it'll be the vinyl version of Bitcoin. It'll be a store of value that you can actually hold. You know, you can make jewelry. It'll be an incredible novelty for this millennium.
That'll be a heavy. That'll be a heavy. That'll be a heavy.
They'll be like, you know what? Maybe I will go buy
heavy ass piece of vinyl. That'll be a heavy piece of vinyl.
And I think that'll drive some demand. And I think we'll see.
Vinyl is pretty light, Max. I don't know, man.
Bitfury has actually started opening a mining operation up in Canada, which of course is a big
they are
gold as well for the country of Canada. So I think we could see more of the competition in the mining space for sure. So how about national states? You know, we've seen over the years so many different, you know, proclamations. First they were like, this is for drug dealers and mafia and you know, illicit sort of operations.
Nefarious actors. Yeah, that was the media's first portrayal of Bitcoin, right?
Forth between we're going to ban it, we're not going to ban it, we're going to use it, we're going to adopt it. And
those are the days. You don't hear much of that crap anymore.
Start to first accumulate Bitcoin. It turns out that Bulgaria, by the way, at one point at the end of this year, had like $3 billion worth of Bitcoin because of illicit operations. They seized some assets from some no-gooders or whatever. So we did see Venezuela as well at the end of 2017, I think, be the first nation to actually propose a cryptocurrency, the petro, which they're saying is backed by their oil reserves, but which is really something that Jim Rickards had predicted quite a few years ago, that once the U.S. pulled the trigger of using SWIFT and the dollar financial system.
Yeah, but how good is that going to be for the Venezuelan people if the government is creating their own cryptocurrency and it's backed by their petrodollar that they can't even buy their own oil because it's so expensive down there in Venezuela? If I'm not wrong, they can't even buy their own oil. It's so expensive. It might not be any good for the general people, maybe for the elite, you know. But we'll see how that goes. But then again, there's other countries trying to do their own currency. China was as well. Russia also is doing their own crypto.
Venezuela is attempting to fight hyperinflation with a new, hopefully if done right, deflationary cryptocurrency, the petro. As a crypto and digital currency pioneer and inventor, I support this initiative and encourage others to do the same.
Well, you know,
they're calling their cryptocurrency the petro. We have the petro yuan here in China now, where the yuan is backed by
people kind of think about that in terms of is it for
gold.
And how do we increase
because the Chinese was quietly going around buying up all the gold in the world. You know, their dollar is their dollar is backed by gold, the petrodollar. So people who trade oil with them, you know, get paid in petro yuan, and then they can exchange that petro yuan for gold. But here in Venezuela, they're doing a petro. They're calling their crypto petro. Interesting. I got to look into that more. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, guys. Comment. See you in the next video.